Picture the biggest game of the tournament. Stoppage time, one goal game. A team brings on a fresh striker to see out the win, and the guy coming off does the normal thing. Slow jog, high fives down the bench, a wave to the crowd. We've all seen that 1,000 times. Nobody's ever thought twice about it. This summer, that normal thing gets a team punished. Their sub waits, and for the next minute, they're playing 10 against 11 in the biggest moment of their year. FIFA quietly dropped a list of new rules for this World Cup. Most people skimmed it, said hydration breaks, whatever, and moved on. Here's what they missed. Buried in that list is a rule so strict, so unforgiving, that it could end up deciding who actually wins this World Cup. And it's not the rule you'd guess. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly which one and why almost nobody's talking about it. And if you're already picturing the player this catches out, good. That's exactly the energy. Smash that like because we're ranking every one of these new rules by how much chaos it's gonna cause. So here's the story everyone's telling about the new World Cup rules. FIFA and IFAB put out this list a while back, and the read was basically housekeeping. A mandatory water break each half, a few new things VAR can look at, some cleanup around injuries and bench visits, the kind of stuff a rules committee does every cycle so it looks like they're modernizing. And honestly, on paper, that's a fair read. None of this sounds like the offside rule getting rewritten. Nobody's adding a fourth official with a whistle that ends games early. It's all procedural. So the coverage treated it that way. A few tweets, a couple of explainer articles, and everyone moved straight on to lineups and group previews. Here's the problem with procedural. Procedural rules still get enforced by human referees in the most watched, highest pressure games on the planet. And a couple of these tweaks are written so tight, there's basically zero room for a referee to use judgment. That's exactly the kind of rule that turns into a headline. And one of them is hiding in plain sight, 8 rules deep. Let's go through these one at a time because the numbers tell a different story than housekeeping. Rule 1, the hydration break. 3 minutes every half, every match, guaranteed. Multiply that across a 104-match tournament and you get over 10 hours of mandatory stoppage added across this World Cup. 10 hours that didn't exist as a requirement before this summer. Rule 2, VAR just got bigger. 4 new categories: wrongly awarded second yellows, mistaken identity, corner kicks that shouldn't have been corners, and fouls that happened before a set piece even restarted. That last one's new. Used to be, ball's not live, foul doesn't count. Now, if VAR catches it, the referee gets sent to the monitor after the restart already happened. Rules 3 and 4 are about restarts and injuries. Throw-ins and goal kicks now carry a visible 5-second countdown. Miss it, you give the ball away. And anyone treated for an injury on the pitch has to stay off for at least 1 full minute before returning. Rule 5, cause a match to get abandoned and your team forfeits automatically. Rule 6, FIFA's chief refereeing officer, Pierluigi Collina, said it himself. No more wandering to the bench to check on the keeper while he's down. Refs are told to shut that down. 6 rules. Read it fast, and yeah, that's housekeeping. Now here's the 2 that almost nobody flagged. The 2 with zero room for a referee to use judgment. And one of them might be the exact thing that decides who lifts the trophy. Rule 7. If you're being subbed off, you've got 10 seconds to leave the pitch. Miss it, and your sub doesn't come on for another minute. Your team plays a man down, 10 against 11 in whatever's unfolding. A corner, a counterattack, stoppage time. Rule 8. Cover your mouth during a confrontation with an opponent for any reason, and it's a straight red card, automatically. Those 2 aren't more water or more replays. They're zero tolerance, binary, no judgment call rules, dropped into the highest stakes refereeing environment in the sport. So pick a side. Which one of these actually decides a World Cup game first? The 10-second sub rule or the mouth covering red card? Not both. One or the other in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Okay, here's the thing nobody's actually thinking through. Why these 2 rules are different from the other 6. Rules 1 through 6? They're either additive, more VAR powers, more breaks, or they're judgment calls refs already make every week. A keeper getting looked after by his bench during an injury? Refs already wave players off for that. Nothing new about the skill required. Rules 7 and 8 are different. Either the player left in 10 seconds or he didn't. Either he covered his mouth during a confrontation or he didn't. There's no advantage to play, no letting it go, no in between. The rule fires or it doesn't. Now think about how substitutions actually look. Watch any close match in the final 10 minutes. A sub gets called, and the guy coming off does the slow jog, the high fives down the bench, the little wave to the crowd. That's been normal forever. 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Nobody's ever timed it because nobody had to. This summer, somebody's timing it. And the first time a referee actually enforces the 10-second rule in a knockout game in stoppage time with a 1-goal lead on the line, that team is suddenly defending a corner with 10 players on the pitch. That's not a yellow card. That's not a debatable VAR call. That's a hard structural disadvantage handed out for what used to be completely normal behavior. Now the mouth covering rule. Think about every heated moment you've ever seen. Two players nose to nose. One of them cups a hand and says something. Happens constantly. Most of the time, it's nothing. Sometimes it's exactly what FIFA's trying to stop. The rule doesn't ask the referee to read lips or guess intent. It just asks, was a hand near a mouth during a confrontation? That's it. Now put that rule in front of a referee standing in a stadium of 80,000 people on a global broadcast in a knockout match, and give him about half a second to decide whether what he just saw is a straight red. That's not a recipe for a few procedural tweaks. That's a recipe for a referee getting a career-defining call wrong, live, in the biggest possible moment. And if you want to know where these two flashpoint rules actually came from, you don't have to guess. Just rewind to the last final. 2022, Argentina versus France. Penalties. The Argentine goalkeeper, talking, gesturing, getting in shooters' heads before, during, and after kicks. Iconic moment for Argentina fans. Borderline gamesmanship to basically everyone else. Under the new rules, a chunk of what made that moment legendary is the exact behavior the mouth-covering rule and the conduct crackdown are aimed at. Not saying it gets regraded after the fact. Saying, that's the template FIFA is trying to write out of the next World Cup. Same final. That goalkeeper also took his time on goal kicks late in the game. Slow walk to the ball, adjust the gloves, look around. Completely normal win-the-clock goalkeeping that's existed forever. That's Rule 3, the 5-second restart countdown. The exact behavior that became one of the most replayed subplots of the last World Cup final is now, technically, a turnover. So when FIFA calls these rules procedural, what they're actually saying is, the most iconic moments from the last final are the moments these rules are built to prevent. Which raises the obvious question. If the rules are built around stopping the last final's most famous moments, what happens when this summer's biggest stars run into the new rules doing the exact same things that made stars before them legendary? Nobody's tested that. Not in a World Cup final. Not with this much on the line. And this summer, somebody's going to be first. So here's the case, closed. 8 rule changes went out under the radar this offseason, and almost all the coverage treated them the same. Minor, procedural, forgettable. 6 of them probably are. The other 2, the 10-second substitution rule and the mouth-covering red card, are zero judgment, binary triggers, dropped into the most watched matches on Earth, built directly off the most iconic moments from the last World Cup final. These rules aren't background noise, they're loaded. So pick your flashpoint. Is it the 10-second sub-rule deciding who wins this World Cup on a technicality? Or a star player seeing red for covering his mouth in the biggest moment of his career? One of these is happening this summer. Which one? Bottom line, the rules everyone called minor tweaks include 2 that could end up deciding who actually wins this World Cup. And this summer is the first time either one gets tested for real. Next time, we're looking at a stat that just quietly broke one of these groups wide open, and almost nobody noticed. If you're new here, this is what we do every single day, until July 19th. Hit subscribe. Casual Fan HQ. Sports, explained for the rest of us.